now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over. As Americans head to the ballot box, what should be front of mind for Catholics? And what about those who don't like either of these candidates? To shine some light on what has been a very dark election season is Bishop Robert Morlino. He joins us via satellite from his diocese of Madison, Wisconsin. Bishop Morlino, thanks for being here.
Raymond, thank you. It's always a joy to be with you and your fine audience.
Well, you're very kind. I want to start with something you wrote recently. You said we are not voting for a candidate. You expressed your own concern about both these candidates. Well, then what are we voting for?
Well, I've been very concerned as I listen to the media talk about how so many people are voting for the candidate that they dislike less.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's granted that both of the candidates are disliked. Which one is disliked less? I'm afraid the real word that should be used in there is hate. Which candidate do they hate less? That, I think, is the tenor of our country, and no Catholic Christian should be operating that way. We don't hate. We try to spread a gospel of love and of joy. And for many months now, I've thought to myself that focusing on the candidates is not the best way to go, but rather to focus on what future those candidates have in store for us according to their own plans and according to their own vision. It's very interesting to me. Just very recently, President Obama said, the future is at stake in this election.
Right.
Well, that's what I've been saying for months. And what we're voting for as Catholic, according to a well-formed conscience, is what kind of future do we want to have for ourselves, our children, and our children's children, and what kind of future do we want to have to prepare for the kingdom of God? I think, unfortunately, in this election, the easiest question to answer is, what future don't we want? And I found myself this time voting to avoid a certain kind of future rather than for anything. It's a strange vote to avoid a certain kind of future.
Now, Bishop,
and
what
yet,
would you say?
That is the.
What would you say to those out there, and I've even spoken to your fellow bishops, a couple of them, who've said, you know, I'm writing in a candidate, or I'm voting third party. I've had it with these two. You would say what to that?
Well, I'd say, first of all, check the state in which you're going to write in a candidate, because in some states, that vote is simply thrown out. It doesn't even register. So I think it would be unfortunate for people to cast a vote writing in a name and then have that vote simply discarded. But in the practical order, this is a binary election. And if one were to vote for a third-party candidate, none of those candidates are going to win. I think the issue becomes here the individual Catholic trying to kind of calm his or her conscience and say, well, I can't intend either of those candidates. I just can't intend that. They got to remember that intention is only one part of the moral action. It also includes the action itself and the circumstances.
Right.
So to satisfy my intention not to vote for either is not the end of the question for a Catholic. What is the action that I'm taking, and what are the circumstances that clothed my action coming forth from a certain intention?
Bishop, we only have a few more minutes. Bishop, we only have a few more minutes. I want to get to this important question. What should be the top of mind moral issues for a Catholic in this hierarchy of issues as they go to the ballot box? Some say, well, I'm voting for the guy who's going to oppose the death penalty. The other says, well, I'm voting for immigration reform. What should be the top issue?
The top issue should be the life issues, abortion, euthanasia, that sort of thing. Also, the issues that involve the ecology of our human nature, like marriage. What is the authentic meaning of marriage? And then also freedom of conscience, freedom of religion. That's what our country was founded for. Those have to be the three things uppermost in the mind of Catholics.
Final question. Have you been struck by the vitriol of this season? I mean, I've seen friendships torn asunder. I've seen people stop talking for months at a time. These are people who were once very close, even comrades and ideological friends here in Washington, D.C. What do we do on November 9th? What would be your advice to people out there who maybe even have households that are divided because of this election?
Well, I think November 9th might be a little bit too late to begin, because those who have lost are going to be operating at kind of a fever pitch on the 9th. That's why I said what I said at the beginning. I think that to cleanse all hatred from our hearts, hatred for either candidate, that has to go. And then we have to make a sound judgment about what kind of future we want. Even President Obama the last few days said, in this election, the future is at stake. That's probably the truest thing he's ever said. The future is at stake, and I'm hoping Catholics will vote for a future that is worthy of and capable of becoming the kingdom of God, rather than a future that means the very annihilation of human nature and possibly the end of Western civilization.
Bishop Robert Morlino, thank you for the advice as well as the meditation, really, on what the vote means. You can find Bishop Robert Morlino's Vote for the Future of Our Nation column by visiting madisondiocese.org. Thanks again, Bishop.